Happy Thursday, friends. I'm going to go ahead and just address the issue. Super windy outside here in Oklahoma. And for all of you girls with curly hair, you're going to totally agree with me. So if I can get some love. Wind does not do well with curly haired people. Like, can you see? Hey, Amanda. How frizzy my hair is? That's because of the wind. So, whatever. So today, I want to talk about the stories that are in our head that we don't even recognize. We have as humanity, that's how we have learned, passed on teachings, right? Like previous to the written word, we passed on stories and songs, and that's how we educated one another and evolved as a humanity species. Now, we all have so many stories in our head that we tell ourselves. And these stories are so ingrained and repeated, we don't even recognize them as stories. Like, I don't even think that we recognize them as thoughts. They're just these sentences that we accept fully as truth and we accept as our reality. And we don't take time to argue with them because they feel so real to us, right? I'm going to give you an example. I say, and it's because I think a lot, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to figure, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do in this situation. I don't know. And that is a story. I didn't recognize that it was a story. I just thought it was me being honest, right? Because we all cannot stand the person that's knows it all and pretends to know it all and lies to us. So I thought I was being honest and authentic when I was like, I don't know the answer to a question. I don't know how to do this. And I found through coaching, I don't know, is a story that we tell ourselves, and it's a buffering story because it allows me and all of us that use it as a story to get by with not taking action and doing things. I know, it's so disappointing, isn't it? Something so innocent and with good intentions, we feel like, is really pretty destructive to our lives, right? So when we say, I don't know, and we feel that, it stops us from taking action, and it creates an excuse for ourselves to not continue forward, right? And it also, for me, the reason is because I don't feel like I know everything. So, which is humanly impossible, A. And I'm afraid to be wrong because I don't like being wrong. Why? Because of my thoughts about being wrong, right? But I've used I don't know as an excuse to not move forward with business, with taking brave and bold steps, right? Because it's a free pass. Well, you don't know, so I guess you just can't move forward until you do know, because everybody else outside of you knows, right? I don't feel like an expert a lot because I have stories in my head that tell me I'm not an expert. One of those stories is everybody else knows it, but you don't. You have to go find a teacher to teach you, a course to teach you. You have to get a certification, a degree, someone to, yeah, it is a way to hide a false sense of security. Absolutely, Amanda. And that's why that perfectly plays into why we feel like we have to have these certifications and these diplomas and praise from whoever it is to give you permission to do things that you want to do. Is we're looking for that validation externally because internally we have some kind of story that is telling us you don't know it all. You don't know enough. You're incompetent. You aren't smart enough. You're not capable enough. All of those are stories, right? We've talked about this before, that everything that we think, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000. That is so many. And most of us are unconscious about most of them, right? The lucky one, not lucky. Those are the people that are conscious and aware of some of those thoughts have really done a lot of work to move to a place that they can watch themselves thinking and be aware of it, which we're all very capable of doing. But most of us are just, I see that, Amanda. Have I been in your head lately? You're human like me. We're always in our head, and we have this brain that continuously tells us sentences. And that's where I was going to. Sentences are literally words in your head. So we've all seen like the marketing, like the computer screens that have messages that roll across them. That's what our brain does. And that's what sentences and thoughts in our heads, thoughts are just these messages that are rolling across the screen in our brain, right? 60,000 of them a day, by the way. And we're not even conscious on which ones we're choosing. We're just saying, yep, that one feels real. That one sounds good. Yep, that one, I've played that message for decades. I remember when my mom told me that I wasn't smart enough, or when my math teacher told me that I wasn't good at math. See, those are all stories that we hold on to. And the reality is that they're words. They are words because we use language as a species to communicate, that are rolling through our head. And that does not mean that they are truth, right? And how do I know that that doesn't mean it's truth? Is if you take the time to do a thought download where you just pick a subject like, I don't know how to do this. And then I write all my thoughts about not knowing how to make a podcast, right? And then I go back and I circle all the thoughts that are truth-based in reality. And how do you know if they're truth-based in reality? Is that they're provable in a court of law. Or you can get 4 people to read that thought and we all agree that that's reality, right? That's how you know when that truth is valid and real. It's when you can get multiple people to agree on it, or it can be proven in a court of law. All the rest of them that do not fall in that category are simply thoughts that you have thought for a long time, that you think are truth, but they are not. They are very subjective. They have all sorts of interpretations and slants, right? Let's go back to the example of my math teacher said, hey, Regina, my math teacher said that I'm not good at math. Can we prove that in a court of law that I'm not good at math? Like, if we went to trial, I guess, and they set up math problems, all sorts of math problems, and I had to run them and do them, then maybe. But I've never had to do that. So therefore, it's not truth-based. It's not based in reality. It is somebody else's thoughts and somebody else's words. They spoke. I chose to believe them, right? And agreed with them and took those thoughts and words and put them in my brain and said, you're right. I'm not good at math. And then I circled that thought for many, many decades. And that thought then grew into, you're not smart. You're not good at math. All again, very subjective thoughts that are not based in reality. Because I cannot, if I asked 3 of you, am I smart? You would say, yeah, you are. Even though my thoughts are, I'm not smart because I'm not good at math. So does this make sense in terms of, we have so many thoughts that we accept as reality and truth-based because they're stories that we are telling ourselves over and over and over again. And we automatically assume they are truth. And they're not. They're just words and sentences that you have picked up and added, agreed with them, and then because you agreed with them, you had an emotional response, the emotion response, right? Whatever that may be. And then you took action based on that thought and got results. So your brain's constantly looking for evidence to prove yourself right. So math example, not great at math. So I have a math problem. Somebody asked me, what's 1,000 times 350? I'm like, I don't know. I have to do that in a calculator. My brain automatically says, see, you're not good at math. If you were good at math, you could do that in your head, which I can do in my head, but you get the point, right? Like, your brain is going to constantly look for evidence to prove whatever thought you're thinking accurate. So then it feels so real to us, right? And that's what I encourage you guys to do, is thought downloads, right? Just write down, like, when you have a situation that you are suffering, whether you're stressed about it, worried about it, anxious about it, fearful, just write down your thoughts about it and then start asking yourself, is this provable in a court of law? Is this thought provable in a court of law? Will 5 or 6 people agree with me on this thought? So then you can start looking at your thoughts and see like, oh shit, like there's a lot of things I'm thinking and believing that are not based on reality. So stories, we have lots of them. And I'm learning to write them down. So I just, in my phone, in my notes app, I'm allowing my friends to call me out on stories and thinking about sentences that I say to myself regularly. I try to listen to myself and, oh, I do say I don't know how to do something a lot. Or I do say I feel overwhelmed a lot. And those are just stories. So I hope this helps, my friends. I love all of you. Thank you so much for joining me. And I do currently not know how to do a podcast, but I am learning. So I am no longer going to say I do not know how to do a podcast. I am learning how to do one, and we're going to have a podcast soon. So I love all of you. Happy, what is Thursday?